Hey, what's up? My name's Alea. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. So today is the first day of Summerween. I hope Summerween is treating you well. And today I want to talk about my Summerween TBR. So I have a ton of horror novels that are on my physical TBR, so I thought today we could do a little try a chapter tag and figure out which ones I want to read for the Summerween readathon. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. So I have this gigantic stack of books because I'm indecisive, and so these are all the ones we're going to be trying a chapter for. So we have Dead Silence, which is a space horror novel about a ship where I think something bad happens. And then I have Saturnalia, which is a newer horror novel that is about a secret society and some kind of magical carnival or something like that, I think. Anyways, the back says, doors open at 7, the sacrifice is at 9, dress code is, as usual, black tie. Iconic. Iconic. We love to see it. And then next I have a novella called And Then I Woke Up by Malcolm Devlin. This is one I've been wanting to read for a while. I think this is maybe a story about love, maybe a story about zombies and the apocalypse. Unclear, but it looks dope. And then I have a little graphic novel called Unfamiliar. And this is a little witchy graphic novel. It has a really cute art style, so I thought it might be good for Summerween. Also, in case you are not aware, Summerween is a annual readathon that's hosted by Gabby from Gabby Reads and Olivia from Olivia Reads Latte, and they have some different reading prompts that we do every year. And so I think some of the prompts are read a graphic novel or a manga or a novella, read a book with orange or black on the cover, read a book in the dark, read a thriller, and then I think there's another one that I can't remember, but I'll put the little list up here. So these are all the little prompts, and so basically I gotta figure out which of these books I'm excited to read and which ones will fit with the prompts, and then figure out which ones I actually like the first chapter of. And that's how we're gonna decide this TBR. This one in particular, I think I might want to put on this TBR, and it's Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. And I know that so many people have read this book and everybody says they don't like it, but I'm so intrigued and I own the hardcover, so I feel like I should read it. And then next I have this one that, again, I feel like nobody likes this book, but I'm excited about it. It's called I Am the Ghost in Your House. And isn't this cover just so cool looking? This woman has 4 eyes. How am I supposed to say no to that? I think this is a YA horror about a girl who is invisible, and it's about her and her mom, and her mom's also invisible, and it's about their life, I think. Spooky. Next, another graphic novel called Garlic and the Vampire. This one is, oh, I remembered the last prompt. This one I was thinking might be good for the prompt of read a book set in the fall, because I don't think any of these other ones I have are set in the fall, but this one has a really cute little art style, and it's got a little Dracula in it. Isn't he cute? Anyways, I just thought this was fun, so we'll see if that seems good. Next, I have Graveyard of Lost Children by Katrina Monroe. I read her previous novel and loved it. This is a horror novel about a woman who's just given birth, and she thinks her daughter might be a changeling. And a similar thing happened to her when she was a baby. Her mom also thought she was a changeling and tried to drown her in a well. Anyways, that's creepy. Next, we have My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I feel like a Grady Hendrix has to be on this TBR because I've never read him before, and that feels like a booktube hate crime, to be honest. And this book in particular was everybody's favorite during Summerween last year, so I think I need to read this book. And it's got a really dope cover too. Look, they made it look crusty on the back, like an old VHS. Isn't that cool? And this one's about 2 girls who are in high school and they're best friends. It's in the 80s, and one of them gets possessed by a demon. And then I think the other one is trying to convince everybody that something's wrong with her friend and that she needs help. Last but certainly not least is honestly probably the only thriller on this list. I'm not really a thriller girly, so I'm kind of struggling with this prompt. But I have The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead, and I started this one a while ago and I just never finished it, so I thought maybe I could start from the beginning again and binge read it for Summerween. I'm a little scared of this book though, to be honest, because so many people have read it and said that it's amazing and it's 5 stars, but I also think it's about a cult. And I'm a little scared that this book might be like more intense than what I want for the Summerween readathon week, but we'll see. So I'm gonna read the first chapter of each of these books, and then I'm gonna tell you what I think, and then by the end we should have curated a Summerween TBR that we will be reading throughout this week. So without any further ado, let's go read some first chapters, shall we? And I'll get back to you on all of my super important thoughts. Okay, so I finished the first chapter of Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey, and I really liked it, actually. It's very eerie. So at the beginning, we're following our main character named Vera, and her mom has just called her home because her mom's dying. And so Vera is pulling up the house, and she's walking up to this house, and apparently her dad was a serial killer and like buried bodies in the house and stuff. So the house is like very creepy. And so this is the first time she's been back in 12 years, and she doesn't know how to feel about it. She doesn't know if like she should have hope that like her mom actually like wants to see her, or if her mom is just like, I want you to be here when I die, and then I want you to like clean up the house and sell it and stuff. But yeah, it's very eerie from the jump, and I like that. I like the way it's written. I'm intrigued already, and the house kind of reminds me of the house from American Horror Story season 1, and I don't know, it's giving that vibe of like, it has like a green front door, and it seems like kind of an older house, and she's talking about how her dad built the house himself, like with his bare hands and everything. And so anyways, very interesting. And she also mentions in the first chapter that like the front steps of the house have been replaced, and she's wondering if anybody found the thing she buried under the front porch. But she doesn't say it like she buried some like childhood toy or something. She says it like, oh, they must not have found it because otherwise it would have made the news. Girl, what'd you hide? Anyway, so far I think if I had to rate this based on the first chapter, it would be like maybe like an 8 out of 10 in terms of like intrigue. So anyways, I think this one is still captivating me. I still want to put this in the TBR. But the next one I'm gonna try is I Am the Ghost in Your House, and then I'll let you know what I think of this. Okay, so I finished the first chapter and the prologue of I Am the Ghost in Your House, and it's really good. So the prologue is about our main character Pi and her mom, and in the prologue her mom like gives birth to her in a bathtub, and her mom is also invisible. And so her mom gives birth to her and then realizes that she is also invisible, and she's happy because that way she can like take her child to the houses of the rich, and they can like live off of other people's food and stuff, and basically like be ghosts in other people's houses. And then in the first chapter it's talking about how Pi and her mom are on a train to Pittsburgh, and Pi is really excited because there's somebody in Pittsburgh that she wants to see. And the last time that she and her mom were there, something went like horribly wrong, and it was like totally Pi's fault, and her mom said that they could never go to Pittsburgh again, but she talked her mom into it. And so they're on the train, and then her mom starts complaining that she doesn't feel well, and Pi is the only one who can see her mom, and like her mom can see her too, but nobody else can see them because they're totally invisible. But they have to be like careful on the train that nobody bumps into them or sits on them or anything. And so her mom is not feeling well, and then all of a sudden her mom like doubles over and like disappears completely, and Pi's like kind of freaking out. There's kind of this funky like 2-page mini chapter sort of after the first chapter, and it's called A Small Town Somewhere Near Lake Michigan. And basically it's talking about how Pi's mom wasn't born invisible, she was born like normal, and her invisibility kind of like came on when she was a teenager as like a defense mechanism kind of, because her parents were like really abusive and stuff. And so once she turned totally invisible, she was only 14, and she like left her family's house to go and live on her own. And then later on she met Pi's dad, who was an art thief, and they like worked together to steal art, and they fell in love. And then Pi's mom told her, never fall in love, it isn't worth it. And Pi says, well, too late. And that's the end of it. I thought it sounded good from the jump, to be honest with you. So this might be one that I also need to get to. I know it's probably not great to put a lot of like chunky books on my Summerween TBR, but I feel like this one would be a really fast read too. This one is probably, honestly, maybe a 9 out of 10 for me in terms of like intrigue, because there's a lot happening there right from the jump. So anyways, this one's really good. Next up, I'm gonna try The Last Housewife again, and we'll see how it goes. I really am like legitimately scared to read this book, so we'll see how it goes. I think chapter 1 is only like a couple pages though, so we'll see. I'll get back to you. Okay, I just finished the first chapter and I have chills. I remember this first chapter is the reason why I bought the book in the first place, because it just grabs you by the throat like right from the jump. So basically we're following this woman, and she is living in Texas and she's married to this man, and it sounds like he's pretty like wealthy, and she has basically become a housewife. She quit her job as a writer so that she could write her first novel, but she has kind of lost her passion for the project, and so she's basically just become a housewife, and she isn't really like doing anything with her days. She's just like sitting by the pool, like listening to true crime podcasts. And her favorite podcast is hosted by this guy she used to know when she was in college. And his name's Jamie, and so she's listening to his newest podcast episode while she's by the pool, like painting her nails and stuff. And Jamie is talking about this new case where this woman named Laurel was found dead on a college campus in New York. And he says that he got his hands on the police report and he shouldn't have it, but the police are thinking it's a suicide, but he thinks it's a murder. And our main character Shay is like starts freaking out because Laurel was her best friend in college and she hasn't talked to her in like 8 years. And so anyways, apparently they also had another friend in college named Clementine, and when she was there she committed suicide in like the exact same way that they found Laurel. And so now Shay is like, oh shit, like what if Clementine's death wasn't a suicide? Like what if somebody just killed them both? Like she's totally like freaking out. Anyways, and so I think from here she like starts investigating the death of Laurel and like kind of teams up with Jamie to like look into things. But it's kind of interesting because the very first like couple pages of this book are basically about how Shay has gotten used to the feeling of like men watching her, and you can tell that she's like had some trauma and stuff, but she also just has that feeling that like all women have at this point of like knowing when like the eyes of men are like on you. And she talks about how she purposefully has gotten used to like laying by the pool in a certain way that like she knows looks aesthetic, and she's talking about how she feels more like a piece of art instead of an artist now that she's not writing anymore. And her husband is like rich and vain and just kind of likes her for her looks and stuff, and it sounds like she kind of like keeps a lot from him. Like she doesn't tell him that she's listening to these true crime podcasts and stuff, and it's interesting. So I think this could be really, really good. I know everybody else loves it. I'm just scared that the culty bits are going to be like really hardcore, because there's a serious trigger warning at the front for like pretty much everything you can think of if you want to see it. That makes me a little nervous, but damn, this gave me chills again, bro. So it's really the only thriller that I want to read right now, so we might have to put it on the TBR. I would say this probably was also like a 9 out of 10 in terms of intrigue for the first chapter. So far, I don't know if this is helping me decide anything, because I'm liking all the first chapters. So what the hell am I supposed to do with that? Whatever, we'll keep going. So the next one I'm gonna read the beginning of is And Then I Woke Up by Malcolm Devlin. Do novellas even have chapters? Riddle me that. Maybe I'll just read the first, well, I guess it does kind of have chapters. Okay, well this one's really long. This first chapter is like 32 pages. Okay, maybe I'll just read the first like, I don't know, 10 or so, and then I'll let you know what I think. Cool. finished the first chapter of And Then I Woke Up, and I think I'd give this one like a 6 out of 10. It was fine. It wasn't great though. I honestly think I got more from reading the back than I did from reading the first chapter. So basically we're following this guy named Spence, and in this world there is this plague that's going around that's turning people into monsters and like affecting their perception of reality. And so there's this rehabilitation facility called Ironside, and Spence is there with some other people, and they've been cured basically of the monster disease. And so he is there with some other people, and there's this new woman who comes to the facility, and she's just been cured, and everybody else is really freaked out by her because she doesn't really talk. And at night everybody else has like night terrors, and they are like really loud in their sleep and stuff, and she is like deathly silent at night, and it kind of freaks everybody out. And that's kind of where we're at, is Spence is like getting to know this woman, and that's pretty much that on that. So it's fine. It's not like amazing, outstanding, like making me want to read it right now, but you know, it wasn't bad. So I don't think I'm gonna read this one for Summerween. I don't think it's the vibe for this moment, is what I'll say. Plus I didn't really learn that much about what's going on in the first chapter, and the book's pretty short, so I think maybe I need something that like will hold my attention from the jump a little bit more. Also, sorry if this lighting is getting really weird. The sun is setting. But next up is Saturnalia. Okay, I've discovered that there are no chapters in this book. There are only parts, and part 1 ends on page 65. So I think I'm gonna stop here. I'm like 16 pages in, but so far I don't think I'm gonna read this one for Summerween either. I don't think it's the vibe. I thought this would be more, I don't know, like spooky. It opens with this woman who is basically reading tarot cards for a living, and the tarot card deck that she uses is special, and it was made by the Saturnalia Club, which is this really like elite club in Philadelphia. Basically she stole it from them when she like left their secret society or whatever, and she gets a text from her friend, and he's asking her to come over to his place because he has like a job for her. And so she's going because she's like really invested in their friendship, and she hasn't seen him in a long time. And she's like walking through the streets on the way to his house, basically. That's what's going on. And she's worried because she's like strapped for cash, and she's really hoping that like this gig that he wants her to do will help her with that. And she's getting worried because she's having a hard time paying her rent, but she doesn't want to give up her place because she likes living alone. And that's all I know, to be honest. This cover is intriguing me more than anything else. She looks like a radish. She's got like a radish head. What's going on there? I don't know. But it wasn't like badly written or anything. I just think it's one of those books that's going to be like kind of slower, which I think is fine, but I don't think it's the vibe for this readathon in particular. I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10. So that's fine. It's also blurbed by Carmen Maria Machado on the front, which is cool. So I think this is going to be a cool one, but I don't think it's for right now. Okay, next up is Dead Silence, and I'm excited about this one. I think it's gonna be really good, but again, not sure if it's the vibe for right now. So I'm gonna read the first chapter and I'll let you know. Okay, so I finished the first chapter of Dead Silence, and it was good. The prologue is actually really interesting. It's about this woman named Claire, and she is basically at this place called the Tower. It's a rehabilitation place in space for people who have like been through trauma on like missions and stuff. And she's being interrogated by these two men, and she's having a lot of pain in like her skull and her jaw and stuff. And it sounds like they've run a bunch of tests on her and stuff, and she had like a skull fracture at one point, but they think she's healed now, so they don't understand why she's having like all this pain, and she's having like amnesia, like she doesn't remember what happened to her, but she knows that her whole crew died on their last mission, and it was supposed to be their last one before her position was gonna be like dissolved basically. And so she and her crew were on their last mission and something went wrong, but she doesn't remember exactly what happened, and she was the only one who survived, or so she thinks. And then one of the guys who's interrogating her is basically saying like, do you want to rethink your story, because people are saying that you killed your entire crew and that you have just been faking this injury because you're having all this amnesia, but we can't find anything else that's wrong with you now that your skull is healed. And so they're like, you know, did you actually kill them? Like, tell us again what actually happened. And she is like trying to recount the story again for them, because they said that they're starting to not believe her because they have been like monitoring the area where her ship like got messed up, and they are seeing movement from what they think is the ghost ship basically that she was on. And so they think that maybe somebody is still alive on the ship. And she's like, no, like that's not possible. And then it skips to 2 months prior, and she's talking about like what was going on. And it's basically just her like outside the ship fixing stuff on the ship because they have to like leave soon for their mission. And so she's trying to like do some last minute repairs and stuff. So that's basically what's happening. So it's definitely setting up to be something interesting, but I think again it's one that's going to be a little bit slower, which is chill. I think the audiobook for this might be a good way to go, because I think it would be really fun to like listen to all the different characters, because it's a pretty big cast of people right now between like her and her crew and the interrogators and all that stuff. So I don't think I'm gonna read this one for Summerween. I don't think it's the time or the vibe, but I am excited because the prologue was really cool. The front says, a ghost ship, a salvage crew, unspeakable horrors. Spooky. Okay. That's going in the pile for not right now. Not for Summerween. Okay, next we have My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Please tell me this has like a normal looking chapter situation. Kind of, sort of. It's a little bit long. Okay, I might read like the prologue and then like half of the first chapter, and then I'll let you know my thoughts. This book is really good. So I read the first chapter, and we're following this girl named Abby, and at the beginning she is an adult, I think, and she's having a flashback to when she was younger, and she was hanging out with her friend Gretchen, and she talks about how in 1988 things got really messed up with her and her best friend Gretchen, and her friend got possessed by the devil. And then it goes back to the very beginning of their relationship, like when they met when they were in school. And Abby was having her 10th birthday party at this roller skating rink, and she invited her whole class because she had been getting really good at roller skating, and she wanted to like impress them, because it sounds like she maybe was bullied and like people teased her and called her names and stuff, and she wanted to like prove that she was cool and that she was good at something. And so she invited her whole class, and then this mean girl like invited everybody to her house on the same day at the same time as Abby's party. And so everybody went to this other girl's house to ride horses instead of going to Abby's party. And she was like really sad and like trying not to cry at the roller rink. And her parents had like decorated the whole party space as like E.T. themed stuff, because she's really into E.T. And as it turns out, the only person who ever showed up to her party was Abby. Or the only person who ever showed up to her party was Gretchen. And so that's how she and Gretchen became friends. And it's pretty cool. That's a pretty cute story. I like that. That feels like genuine friendship, you know? When like you become best friends with somebody because everybody else sucks, and you guys can like find things to bond over in this moment of like sadness when you're 10. Anyways, so I think this has to be on the TBR. Let's be real. Grady Hendrix needed to get on the file. So right now we have 4. I'm going to read the first chapter of Graveyard of Lost Children, and then honestly you can't really read the first chapter of a graphic novel, so I think I'm just gonna like maybe read the first few pages of these and look at the art styles and stuff and see which one I'm feeling more, and then we will wrap it up and we will conclude the TBR. Okay, and go. So I finished the first chapter of Graveyard of Lost Children, and yeah, that was gruesome and yucky. So the first chapter is following our main character Olivia, and she is giving birth. So major trigger warnings for like graphic depictions of childbirth. This author did that in her last book too, I noticed. There was a scene in the last one where someone gave birth and it was also like gruesome, but this one is worse. And so the whole first chapter is basically about her giving birth to her daughter and breastfeeding for the first time, and just immediately like not feeling attached to her child, like feeling like her child is a stranger, because our main character Olivia is married to a woman named Chris, and Chris is also there in the room trying to be like comforting and stuff, but they used like artificial insemination to get pregnant. And so it sounds like Olivia has had this fear like ever since she got pregnant that her baby is gonna be like the sperm donor and like not look like her or act like her or anything. And so as soon as her baby is born, she's like, you know, she doesn't look like me, like I feel like she's a stranger. And her wife is like, you know, she's not a stranger, like it's okay. And but Olivia gets kind of like annoyed with her wife because her wife like is like I don't know, moving around the room a lot and like making noise and stuff, so Olivia can't sleep like after she gives birth. And so she like sends her wife home, and so it's just her and the baby. And you can tell that she's kind of like uncomfortable being like alone with the baby, and immediately like doesn't feel a connection to her child, and yeah, kind of feels like her kid is almost like parasitic in a way. And then she has this moment where it's really creepy. She is asleep and she wakes up from this weird dream, and all of a sudden the baby is like the front of her like dressing gown or whatever is like ripped open, and her baby is like feeding. And when she went to sleep, her baby was like in the bassinet on like the other side of the room. And so it's kind of like, you know, you have this moment where you're like, I really hope the baby didn't move by itself like that, you know what I mean? So I don't know, it's really creepy from the jump. But I can also tell that this is gonna be alternating POVs between Olivia and then someone named Shannon. And so chapter 2 is from Shannon's POV, and I'm not sure if Shannon is Olivia's mom or what exactly the vibe is. But yeah, honestly, I think that might have been like the most disturbing first chapter that I've read yet. It wasn't bad or anything, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm in the mood to read about like the creepy child and yucky childbirth, postpartum depression vibes right now. So I think I might wait on that one too. And then I looked at the graphic novels a little bit more, and I think I am gonna go with Garlic and the Vampire because it is set in the fall, and the art style is just really, really pretty and like kind of relaxing to look at, to be honest. I think it's really cute. And there's also like a witchy lady in here too, and she looks really cool. So I think I'm gonna go with that. And this one, I was trying to figure out what season this is set in, and I would say it's more like wintry than like fall, but it's kind of hard to tell, to be honest. The art style is kind of unique and stuff, so it looks like in some scenes it looks like summer, and some scenes it looks like winter, but I don't think any of the rest of these are set in the fall, and that's one of the prompts. So I'm gonna go with Garlic and the Vampire. And then I just remembered that there's one more book that I was thinking about reading for this readathon, and it's called The Insatiable Sisters. So I think I'm gonna read the first chapter of that on my iPad because I have the ebook. I just don't have the physical book. So I'm gonna read the first chapter of that, and then I'm gonna make the final call on this whole TBR thing, and then we're gonna go to bed because I'm sleepy. It's getting late. People act like these chapter tags are like super fast, and I'm like, I had to like take a break for dinner. Insert the beautiful sunset here that's happening right now outside. But we need to wrap this up. Your girl's tired. Okay, I'm gonna read this ebook first chapter, and then I'll come back to you in a sec. Hi, so I finished the first chapter of The Insatiable Sisters, and it's basically about these two girls who are sisters, and they were raised on this island, and in the house that they grew up in, there's like some kind of entity or like ghost that speaks to them. And so when the second daughter was born, this ghost kind of like got more powerful because she could speak to the younger daughter like telepathically, and so she would speak to the daughter and she told the girls about their like family tree and their family history, and she said that there's kind of like a curse in the family. But anyways, it's really good. I would say it's probably, I don't know, like a 7 or 8 out of 10. It was really interesting hearing about the ghost woman in their house and the way that she used to speak to them. And it doesn't seem like she's evil. She's more of like trying to warn them, but it's like she's not able to say certain things. Like she tries to tell them exactly like what happened in their family history and like why they need to be careful and like stick together and stuff like that. But if she starts trying to tell them too much, it's like her tongue gets like heavy in her mouth and she like can't say it. And so I don't know if her death is like attached to this curse thing, because it sounds like this woman like maybe was like an old housemaid at the place a long time ago or something. But she kind of mentions that like she drowned, and it kind of sounds like her death is like related to the whole family curse sister situation. But anyways, I liked it. I thought it was cool. So I think what I'm gonna do, I know this is still a lot of books, but I think my TBR is going to be these ones, and then also the Insatiable Sisters. So we have I Am the Ghost in Your House, Garlic and the Vampire, My Best Friend's Exorcism, Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey, and The Last Housewife, and then the Insatiable Sisters. So I think that will definitely cover my bases with all of the prompts. So a lot of them I think I can count for multiples and then have like a few extras that I just want to read just because I feel like it. But Garlic and the Vampire counts for set in the fall and a graphic novel. And then The Last Housewife counts as a book that's a thriller. And then there's a prompt that's read a book in the dark, so that could be any of these other ones. And then let me see, what is the last one? I always feel like I forget one of the prompts whenever I'm talking about them. Oh yeah, read a book with orange or black on the cover. So that could be, technically My Best Friend's Exorcism has a little bit of orange and black on the cover, but I would probably count the Insatiable Sisters for that. Yeah, that covers all of the prompts. So yeah, I can pretty much get all of the prompts with the Insatiable Sisters, The Last Housewife, and Garlic and the Vampire alone. And then I'll probably just read these other three, just kind of mood read them within everything else probably. And then if I don't get to everything, that's totally chill. But I just want to have some options, but also make sure that I can like hit the prompts, just because I really want to try to do that this year. So anyways, that is my TBR for Summerween. Thank you so much for watching, and I will hopefully have some Summerween vlogs out soon. I'm kind of thinking about going hard for Summerween this year and trying to maybe split the week into 2 separate reading vlogs. And then I also kind of have an extra like Summerween surprise for kind of like post Summerween time. I think I'm gonna kind of keep that one a secret, but I've been kind of trying to plan for Summerween for the last like month or so, just because I really want to like go hard this year and have fun with it. But I'm also a little bit worried because of the timing of Summerween. I'm a little worried that I'm like not gonna be feeling very good that week, because I think that's like period week, and I'm a little bit worried that I'm gonna like plan all this stuff for Summerween and then just like have horrible cramps and feel awful the whole week and then not feel good enough to vlog. But we're gonna power through, we're gonna try our best. But thank you so much for watching, and make sure that you like and subscribe so that you can see the rest of my upcoming Summerween content, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!